Welcome to Ear to the Common Ground. Here we celebrate the power of music and food to bring Americans together. Filmed from a historic barn on Cash Lane in Music City, each episode of Ear to the Common Ground features one musical artist and a diverse gathering of 8 of their fans. Everyone brings a dish to the table, and they talk about one of the issues of the day. Face to face, with compassion replacing contempt, as they keep their hearts, ears, and minds attuned to the common ground. I'm She Returns from War, and these are 8 of my fans. Morgan, Steven, Robert, Kristen, Mariah, Tiffany, Susanna, and Cameron. Tonight, we're focusing on issues surrounding the LGBTQ plus community. Let's celebrate America's greatest diversity of thought, and shine a light on some common ground.
As I'm talking in my sleep to you again.
My name is Pastor Robert P. Harris Jr. I am, of course, a pastor. I am a writer, researcher. I am a lover of humanity. God has poured that into my heart. Now, I will say this. I used to despise, hate white people. I'll tell you the reason why. Even gay people. And I'll tell you the reason why. It's because I was taught to do that. In my day, during Black Power, it was you hate white people because they're white. Until one day, I'm an ex-heroin addict, cocaine addict, crack addict. Been clean about 40 years. And one day I was dying. I was literally dying. I had a syringe. I had cocaine in a spoon. And my heart was going, I don't know how many miles a minute. And I was sweating without moving. And I was about to die. And I says to my creator, if you don't do nothing, I will die. I'd do anything you ask me to do. And in that room was an experience that I've never had before. And when I came out of that experience, I went outdoors and everything I saw was brand new. Mm-hmm. Everything I saw was brand spanking new. And I've been loving all of humanity. And I need some help from you guys because I said, now what am I going to do about this as a pastor? What am I going to do about this? So I look at Scripture, and I look that all of us are part of one big human race, and we all have our bents and our biases. I don't agree with same-sex marriage and that kind of thing, but I love humanity. And so I came up with this vision, and I started off with the YAS vision, and the YAS vision is the Y stands for you, A stands for R, and S stands for somebody. And you are somebody because God is somebody. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter your sexuality. And this is to bring all of us to the table where we can have discussions like this, where we engage. It doesn't matter what church you go to, whether you go to church or not, because we all have this trauma going on. And so we are brothers and sisters by creation, okay? And we have a common heritage. That is our Father. That's our commonality. That is our common ground. And he's listening to this conversation. He's given us an ear. I want to know if you could help me with this movement that is made up of all of us to talk to our kids. Help me with another thing. Is it possible for someone to say they are gay and then and turn around and say that they're not gay.
There are people who are investigating their sexuality, and sometimes those people have they have a liking for a person. And so they may be gay for that person, but they don't really like the
You can
same
be straight
gender.
for that person too.
That's the thing.
Say that again.
They can have a thing for a person, and they can engage in a homosexual or in a heterosexual relationship for a person.
It's called demisexual.
Or
And it means-
pansexual.
Or pansexual, right? And here, let me educate you a little bit, right?
We need a
Let me
mod
educate
system.
you.
I feel you.
Someone's head has
And
exploded.
maybe I could.
It's all right.
Speak to
Pastor
this
Bobby.
for a moment.
Speak.
I see the wheels turning.
And, you know,
Which is
so-
when you said, help me with this. I think what some of us are describing here is what being a person who is like myself and what being part of a community for LGBTQ liberation. I think it's about liberating all people, right? And it's about helping us all understand that the ways of being sexual, the ways of being gendered, so the way you see yourself as a man and a woman,
Which are mutually
or all
exclusive.
in between. You know, myself, I think of myself as being sort of both. And it's kind of unclear how much of either man or woman I am. But there's also people who are born intersexed. So for all of the ways of being human, there's so many different ways to think about it and define it. Just like there's so many ways to think and define about not just what your anatomy looks like, but how you might love other people romantically or aromantically, you know, as you would consider it platonic. There's a lot of ways of being all of those things. And so I think what is most interesting to me when thinking about this issue of LGBTQ rights is thinking about how do we liberate all of us from the thinking that there's only this way and that way.
Yes.
That
And
there's
all
only
of us,
man, there's only
everybody.
woman, there's only straight, there's only gay. Okay, so now there's only bi, and maybe you're trans, but like, why are you liking a person who, you know, looks like your gender on the outside? There's a complicated
It gets real complicated.
realm about how to be a
It is
person.
complicated and confusing.
Yeah, but let me help you.
But
let me help
rich
you.
in texture.
But it's
But
complicated.
let me help you get around the confusion. Let's let people self-determine. Let's let the person we just meet
Yes.
tell us who they are.
Right.
Yes.
And let's meet that person where they are.
And it's okay to ask
And let's
questions.
show them respect and let's show them dignity by saying, okay, what you're telling me is new and I'm not getting
Yeah, I'm
this,
down
but I'm
with
down
that.
for it because I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, you love all of humanity because we're part of a human race, right? So there is this place that we all come together, which is spiritually and in this
We all should come
human
together.
sack of water and skin and organs and whatever is making us up, right? We all are pretty much the same, but how we live our lives and how we express ourselves and how we find our joy really only looks like difference because we're sort of hung up on it
Agreed.
as being different. But what I think is best to think about difference is like, let's not get hung up on the concept of our negative attachments to what difference can be and how it can be scary. And let's think of it like, wow, there's this amazing spectrum of being human, and isn't that wild? Because we see it in nature all around us, right? Nature is fluid. Nature isn't man and woman. Nature isn't black and white. Nature is a beautiful spectrum of possibilities. So I think we need to start thinking about ourselves as human beings and our sexuality and our gender and our sex category. We need to start seeing it for what it really is, which is that it's a lot of things. And it's a lot of things that are possible. And maybe what's possible is what we need to be thinking more about rather than what we assume is real in a narrow sense. And we might be thinking about, and even thinking about God and how God is within each of us, right? And I was taught when I grew up that God was a man in the sky somewhere, the spirit realm, that kind of was thinking and judging about my life. I was raised Christian. I was raised Southern Baptist, kind of Episcopalian, all of those things. But nonetheless, we're taught to think about God, and all of our images of God, right, was a white man.
And he was up there and far.
Because that's Jesus, right? Jesus is the visual human representation of God, right? But when I got older, I started to think about, well, what could God actually be outside of what I've been told? And what I realized was, it's probably none of that. It's probably not a man in the sky looking down at me and thinking and judging about my life. It's probably not a white guy with long blonde hair. It's probably something beyond all of that. And I think that that is more reflective of how human beings are embodying this sense of the divine and what queerness can teach us about the divine, which is it's sort of beyond our full realm of understanding. But why don't we just start with that as the concept first? And then from there, we can get more expansive. And so when you're meeting a person, they might appear to you as a certain way, but why don't we just ask more questions about what people are? You know, like, oh, hey, what's your name? Like how we started when we first got here, what's your name? Hey, what kind of pronouns do you go by? And some people might be like, I don't know, I'm a guy, or, but you'll be surprised. What you're saying then is you're giving people permission to tell you how they want to be seen. And I think that is the spiritual premise.
Playful and intentional with identity, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess I wanted to interject and say, like, for me, part of what the education has been is I was raised, we're talking about being raised on Sesame Street, you know, not to see color. That's how my mama raised me. Now, that sounded really progressive in South Carolina, in the country, when everyone else was, you know, protesting Martin Luther King Day, right? But as I grew away from, like, the perspective came to me, right, that when you say that, when that is your belief, I don't see color, you're really erasing the richness of people, right? You're erasing history. You're not, you're and the same is true for queer identities, right? The same thing. Like if I just say, well, why do we have to talk about our sexuality all the time? You know, like, and I know people who, my oldest child is bisexual, never came out, never said a word, just brought different people home. Has no interest in being political, doesn't talk about it, you know, doesn't want to go to Pride, none of that. You know, I want a world that it's free for people to disengage too, right? Like, because it's, as you all know, it's hard to constantly be fighting for your basic dignities all the time. It's exhausting. And for me, it's just about like getting curious about how textured, how marvelous, how incomprehensible gender is, right? Just like race, just like all the other things. Like, it's not simple. I will likely never understand it all. But isn't that fantastic? Like, we thought we figured this out and we were all wrong.
Right. And so it's like the meaning it's the meaning you're attaching.
So, like I mentioned earlier, there's a new discussion on legislation in the Tennessee House to redefine marriages of one man and one woman. And it has committee, it's already been in the press about it. But the United States Supreme Court, the United States government recognizes same-sex marriage, all-sex marriage is legal and it's binding and it's the law of the land, yet we have state after state trying to redefine the redefinition of marriage. And I would like to ask you, sir, what your reasoning is to not support the law of the land in regards to marriage between any two consenting adults, i.e., you know, a man, a woman, trans people, you know, pansexuals, whatever it might be. Why you say you love everybody, but you don't love the fact that they love somebody else and want to legally, lawfully be married to them, whether it's in a church or in a justice of the peace?
So my loving everybody doesn't mean I love everything about everybody. See? You see what I'm saying? I don't. Listen, I love you, but I may not like or love all of what you do as a person.
How do you justify what about me you like or don't like?
I love you. Here's the reason why.
So what about my marriage do you not like?
I don't like, let me put it like this. The marriage between a man and a man, right? Or a woman and a woman, right? To me, according to my beliefs, is not right. Now, let me say this. I'm gonna say this because we talked about freedom. Here's my belief that when we go to the Bible, when we talk about Genesis and God says now, here's your range of freedom, okay? All of these trees you can eat from, but that one you can't eat from. Because the day you eat the fruit from that tree, you shall surely die. It's a judgment tree, which means when you eat it, you now become the judge of what is right in your own eyes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
And I just want to gently
Yes.
challenge you, since I'm sitting right next to you.
Uh-huh.
Because I come from very conservative. I'm preacher's daughter,
Okay.
grandfather's a preacher. So I grew up hearing exactly everything you're saying. And I guess what I wanted to say is that it doesn't feel like love.
Let me
finish.
No.
Can I just finish what I wanted to say?
Y'all talk.
I would love to hear what you have to say.
I just want to finish my thought, and then I'll let you go on.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not in support of me showing up as my full self, it's hard for me to feel loved in that space.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to say.
I agree with you. Let me tell you the reason why. Love doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always.
But love
feel
doesn't, hold people down. Like love is liberation, right?
I am not holding you down.
No, I didn't say you were. I'm just saying that when I hear that from religious people, I love you, I just don't like what you do.
Okay, we all have our biases.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm just
We all have our
gently
prejudices.
pushing back.
But you
saying
were touting, I love there's not somebody I don't love. It's like that in your introduction. So what I'm saying is who we choose to marry and share our being with, share our family with, and make a family for others with is a big part of who we are.
Okay. Here's what I know. Everybody at this table doesn't agree with everything.
True. Absolutely true.
But we're talking
You're picking
about
on me.
No, I'm just challenging this one thing that you said.
Gotcha.
Right,
So-
when you made a big statement, and I just wanted to push back a little and say, sometimes that doesn't
Gently.
feel loving.
Yeah, I got you.
So this is something that's actually close to me. Because I am married.
Yeah.
And one thing that my wife and I both we wanted to be married by a minister. So when we eloped, we found a minister to marry us in Las Vegas. When the bill passed for same-sex marriage, that was a huge thing for me. Because I want to be able, at the end of the day, to take care of my wife in the event something happens to me. If that law wasn't passed, Pastor, I wouldn't be able to do that. There's no way that I could take care of my wife if something were to happen to me if I couldn't have married her like that.
Facts.
So, and I agree with why the challenge is there, because it's beyond what the Bible says. This is a law that has passed. This is a law that allows future Gen Z, future kids to love and marry somebody that they choose to. When I chose to marry my wife that day, that was going to be something that was going to, we said forever, in the eyes of God. So I pray for my wife. My wife prays for me.
Yeah.
And we continue to love each other every day. And I hold with honor, with pride, calling her my wife, because I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it goes beyond the conversation of love is between a man and a woman in the Bible. It's beyond that aspect. So for me, when I got married, it was not only to call her my wife, it was also to take care of my wife in the event that something happens to me. So I get scared about that. I'm not necessarily scared about being hit or, violence against me for being gay.
Yeah.
People get shot unexpectedly. People get hit by cars unexpectedly.
Yeah, as a black man, I know.
As a black man, you know. As a
Yeah.
black woman, I also know.
Absolutely.
I could have been Sandra Bland.
Yeah. So let me say also about the Bible, right? I believe in the Bible alone, but not the Bible only. So I think outside the Bible, I've always have been becoming, evolving, because there's a lot to learn. Okay? So I'm expressing how I feel, my belief, and my thinking. All of that shaped by the love of God.
Right. And I respect you for the fact that you you have this belief. I respect that. And you also said that you can love everybody at this table, but you're not gonna like everything about them. I don't disagree with that statement. I believe that's very clear. But at the end of the day, is the only reason why you don't believe with same-sex marriage is because of what you've read in the Bible? Is that the only reason?
Hi. This is fun. And the cupcakes match my dress. So I thought that after all this healing conversation we've been having, that we all deserve a little treat, huh?
Yes.
So you're your most beautiful self when you are listening, I think. And when you're tapping into hearing other people's opinions, and when you're tapping into understanding why people are, and maybe that might be different. It's like, how can we facilitate that in the most amazing way possible? And I think it starts by maybe buying y'all cupcakes, because God knows I can't bake.
Tell me what you think he made now. You're spilling terror from your teeth like you figured my intentions out. Black lightning bolts in the back of your head. I watched your ego taste my flesh to put the pieces back together, but you don't know how. I was spitting fire to the place you're bending backwards now. I've sung my songs from north to south. You're still afraid to hear that someone loves you. Whispering spells in the next room over the perfect patterns we were standing in. I'm not a cool kid, but I'm a swamp witch. To dream of a ceiling caving in. It's like a mirror of the moon when you ask to keep my secret. Why don't you tell me about the day that you died? Black lightning threading through the sky. I swear if you shut your eyes, I know that you could see it. I'll be 3 feet off the ground while you're on fire now. I've sung my songs all over town, dancing with my my demons in the space between us or remedy if I choose to be. And now, look who's getting loud. Tell me what you think you mean now. Tell me what you think you mean now. Oh, tell me what you think you mean now. Tell me what you think you mean now. I'm not a cool kid, but I'm a swamp witch. I'm not a cool kid, but I'm a swamp witch. Thank you, guys. Hot wire, drag through fight. Tell me when I'm gonna make my money back. I got a street walker with a real long stare. Tell him you ain't ever going nowhere, honey. You ain't ever going nowhere.